Hello and welcome to Disney Movie Investigations. This is our longly anticipated Rocky Horror Picture Show video. And again, I apologize for the delay on this video for those of you that have been waiting anxiously. Yeah, better late than never. So for those of you that have never seen our videos before, this is Disney Movie Investigations, and each week we take a deep dive into normally a Disney movie, but this week we are going into our fan choice November bonus poll, which is the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And we're going to take a deep dive and take a look at how it got made, its history, as well as its reception following its release. So like I said, this is our video on the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And the Rocky Horror Picture Show was released on August 15th, 1975, and was directed by Jim Sharman. And it is based on the Rocky Horror Show musical by Richard O'Brien. And it had a budget of $1.4 million, and it did a box office return of $170 million. Before we get into the movie itself, let's look at the history of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. So actor Richard O'Brien was sitting in his London apartment, and he wrote the Rocky Horror Show, a musical, basically just to amuse himself during one winter when he was out of work. And O'Brien was a big fan of the 1950s horror movie, kind of B-movie type things. So that was a lot of influence on this, as well as he wrote it against the backdrop of the glam era that manifested in British pop culture during the 1970s. So the musical premiered in the small Royal Court Theatre in London, but then it was very, very popular. So it quickly moved into the larger King's Roads Theatre in London, which was a 1,000-seat theatre. And then the musical traveled overseas to make its U.S. debut in Los Angeles in 1974. And again, it was really popular there. So then in 1975, it made its Broadway debut. The film itself was shot in England in October 1974. And I actually found an old London mansion. However, it was in very poor condition, and it wasn't really suitable for living in. There are stories that I read online that it actually had no bathrooms and no heat. And so Susan Sarandon, who's one of the cast members, actually got pneumonia while filming this, while filming the Rocky Horror Picture Show. So it was a tough shoot. And the film itself retains many aspects of the musical. The cast is the majority of the cast is from the musical as well. However, they did add small scenes here and there, as well as the final musical number was added to the movie just to make it differentiate itself from the musical itself. So now that we kind of know the back history of how it got made, let's look at the cast. So like I said, most of the cast was used in the stage play cast was used in the film. So first off, we have Tim Curry playing Dr. Frankenfurter, Susan Sarandon playing Janet Weiss, Barry Botswick playing Brad Majors, Richard O'Brien plays Riff Raff, Patricia Quinn plays Magenta, Nell Campbell plays Columbia, and Peter Hindwood plays Rocky, and then the singer Meatloaf plays Eddie, the ex-delivery guy. So this is a pretty well-rounded out cast in terms of theatrical talent as well as singing ability. Again, I think the cult status of this movie adds to the cast as well. For the longest time, Tim Curry actually didn't want to talk about this in interviews because of the overzealous of some fans that he met. However, he's since changed his mind. And then Susan Sarandon doesn't like to talk about this movie, and it has nothing to do with the fans or the movie itself, but she is quite frustrated with the fact that because this this movie has gone on to be cult status, none of the cast actually get royalty payments from the sale of the DVD or any of the showings that they do of this movie. So Susan Sarandon just doesn't like to acknowledge it anymore, which is a shame because she's really good in it. But so let's look at the plot. So after the wedding of mutual friends, Brad Major and his fiancée Janet get lost during a storm, and they seek help they seek help from the staff at the mansion of Dr. Frankenfurter, who is in the middle of having a party and is about to unveil his latest creation, Rocky. So this film opened in the United Kingdom in London on August 14th, 1975, and then in the US on September 26th of 1975. It premiered in Los Angeles, and it premiered in fairly small theaters because the Fox really didn't know how to market this movie. And unfortunately, the screenings had very little attendance. So they were actually going to open after this Los Angeles showing in 8 different cities around the world. But unfortunately, because of the low attendance showings, Fox actually canceled that. And then they were even planning on having a New York premiere on Halloween, but that as well got canceled because of the low attendance figures. However, this film has trudged along and gotten cult status. It's very popular, especially they do midnight screenings all over the country, as well as I know, me being from Calgary, every long weekend they would actually do a midnight showing of Rocky Horror, and they would have local Calgary actors come and dress up as the characters to kind of do meet and greets. And they would do this in Kensington and Calgary, and they became very, very popular. So the film actually benefits from a policy that 20th Century Fox instilled, that they said that this is an archival film, and they actually don't charge any screening rights for this. And so any theater in the world can actually do a performance of the Rocky Horror Picture Show without having to pay for a showing merchandising to Fox or anything. And Disney actually, when they bought Fox, they shut down the archival pictures division with the exception of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, so that theaters continue to show this to this day. So I thought that was very noble on Disney's part, because they could have easily just put this in the vault and it never would have seen the light of day. But no, they want to continue to have it showing throughout the world. So Richard O'Brien, who was both the writer of the screen musical as well as in the play Blang Riff Raff, he actually developed 3 different sequels, 3 screenplays that would act as sequels to this. So he wrote The Rocky Horror Shows His Heels, Revenge of the Old Queen, and Rocky Horror The Second Coming. So these were 3 different screenplays that he wrote over the years, hoping to get a sequel made. Unfortunately, no studio was really interested. And that had nothing to do with the cult status. It basically had to do with the financial, how do we get our money back on this? Because they were looking at the business numbers, unfortunately, of the original run, which did not do great. And while Rocky Horror Picture Show gets shown around the country, it's not a tremendous amount of revenue that they're making with these. So they just thought it was too much of a gamble to do a sequel to Rocky Horror Picture Show. Apparently these scripts I tried to find them. Their scripts are online through Richard O'Brien's website, if you want to really take a look at them. But yeah, no, I haven't been able to find a copy of them. Like I said, this movie has a huge cult following. The Rocky Horror Picture Show, either its songs or depictions of its characters, have been featured on several television shows, including Glee, The Drew Carey Show, That 70s Show, and The Simpsons. And actually Glee went on to do, as part of their Halloween episode, did a full reproduction of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. On April 2015, Fox actually announced that they would do a live theatrical show, the Rocky Horror Picture Show, Let's Do the Time Warp Again. And this was part of Fox doing live theatrical presentations. They had done this with Hairspray, and NBC had done this with The Sound of Music, and I think they were planning on doing Bye Bye Birdie, but it never happened. But yeah, they wanted to do a live show where they would redo the musical. And this aired on October 20th of 2016. And it is available on DVD right now as well. So in terms of final thoughts, I think this is not my favorite cup of tea. However, I do realize the popularity of this musical. And I understand the cult following behind it. It has very memorable songs, great performances by Tim Curry, Barry Botswick, and Susan Sarandon, and Richard O'Brien as Riff Raff. Like I said, the songs are quite catchy. It's just not my cup of tea. But I realize the kind of artistry behind it, as well as the kind of individuality that this movie allows people to express. So I think it does has its place. So yeah, that's going to do it for our Rocky Horror Picture Show video. Just a kind of housekeeping thing is this is the last week to vote in our bonus poll, which for the month of December is Christmas movies. And right now it's a really close race between all 5 movies. So please cast those votes to get your say on which movie we'll be doing for Christmas. And those movies, like I said, are Elf, Muppet Family Christmas, The Grinch, the Jim Carrey version, White Christmas, and the Claymation Rudolph specials. So we'll be doing Rudolph and Santa Claus is Coming to Town as those 2 specials. So please head over to our Facebook page, Disney Movie Investigations, and cast your vote. And then in terms of our regular series, our next DMI video we'll be going back to the world of Marvel, and we are going to look at the sequel to Ant-Man called Ant-Man and the Wasp. So I hope you guys are having a great day, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.